What's up, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And this one I want to break down what's happening with NIO, Tesla, SPY, and the overall market. I'll talk about what's happening with the deliveries that are going to be coming out for next week. How this may affect the share prices moving forward. But just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 in total, not to mention 8.1% APY on uninvested cash. The offer ends very soon, in just about 4 days from now. Anyways, looking at NIO, I want to say that despite the downside we're seeing right over here, I could be looking for a little bit more downside going into Monday as the whole market ended up coming down. But there is potential for NIO to see a big bounce if we get some strong deliveries numbers. So unfortunately, we did get this rejection on NIO. I was hoping that this would break higher, but we got this rejection because of a lot of bad news that came out with the bonds market being a little bit more aggressive, yields going up a lot more, causing the market to dip as there's uncertainty about the year. This dragged NIO down for today, so it was weaker than expected. There could be a little bit more weakness to start off next week, but like I said before, this is not going to matter as much. What's going to matter is what we get for the deliveries. So far, there's reports coming out that NIO's low-cost Envo L60 EV has once again debuted with over 20,000 plus deliveries in the just 100 days. That's great to see, and this is going to help bring their overall sales up. So hopefully this continues at least as time goes on. Looking at the L60, electric SUV is making a very significant impact, and they're continuing to get a lot of sales as time goes on. There's also this news right here about how they are upgrading their ET9. This is going to be leading them to be a lot more competitive with different companies out there. And with the competition growing, we're looking at these deliveries numbers that NIO needs to achieve. So look at the data, okay? If you look at the quarterly data, you guys can see that in 2022, NIO was only doing about 25,000 deliveries per quarter. 2023 went up to about the 30,000s on average. So if you take the average of all this, it's in the 30,000s. For if we go forward to 2024, you guys can see that we're doing a lot better. So if you look right over here around the 2024 mark from this point on, we went from 30,000 to about 57,000, surpassing the records from 2023. And then we ended up just continuing to go higher going into the end of the quarter. So there's one more quarter coming. NIO is saying we should be expecting 72 to 75,000 deliveries for Q4, which adds up to about at least or very close to about 224,000 vehicles delivered in 2024 as a whole. Excuse me, if we end up surpassing the record and we see them get a crazy good month for the month of December, that's going to help their sales a lot more. I also want to mention when you go on their Twitter page, if you go all the way down here, it's actually pretty far away, but they basically gave us the numbers that we were looking for what happened in their sales for the month of November. You guys can see that there was a very, very big increase. So if I go all the way down here, you guys can see we basically have a tendency of doing about 20,000 deliveries per month, at least very consistently. If you look at like September, October, November of this year, but in order for us to hit 72,000 plus, okay, we have to do over 30,000 plus deliveries, more than 30,000 for the month of December. That's going to be an all-time record. That's going to be the highest we ever saw from them, and that's going to be very, very important. So will they achieve such a huge record deliveries like that? It's always a possibility. I hope they achieve 30,000 plus. They are expecting a big surge in their overall sales, and hopefully that can help with the share price at least until a much larger extent. So going into next week, I just want to say that there might be a rebound, a small little rebound before a continuation lower to fill this gap. But this structure looks symmetrical. If you draw a line in the middle, notice that this side represents the same kind of price action as this side. And then this is like mirroring the overall structure right here. So this makes me think that there could be a dip coming before it tries to bounce, especially as we have these gaps to fill up here. I'm hoping we do see this thing base and we see some buyers step in because of the fact that their deliveries are coming out, and they could be very, very big. Hopefully they do really well, and I hope we get a lot of nice price action going into next year. When you look at what else is coming out, on Monday, we have the Chicago PMI, so very minor data. Tuesday is very minor, just housing numbers. Wednesday, the stock market's closed because of the New York Stock Exchange. Then by Thursday, NIO is going to be announcing their deliveries. I hope by then we get a nice report to break records. That could help the share price improve. Friday also is when we have more manufacturing numbers, but that's it for the broader markets. Also, there's nothing significant coming out for earnings next week, so just keep that in mind. And then the market still has a lot of fear that's present. Momentum is slowing down. It's still at fear. When you look at other factors like the puts and call option ratio is currently at greed, so starting to go down a bit as we're seeing shorts being closed, but despite that, the market still came down. So what do I see for NIO? I think that this might dip a little bit more, close to about the 4.4 area. But if this is truly going to be symmetrical, okay, we want to see something play out. So I'm going to actually draw this out very nicely. So if you take a line like this, right, and you draw it out like this is basically resembling the same thing that's going on here. So that is essentially the same thing as this move right over here. We had this move all the way down here. Then we saw this move right back up. So as you can see, it looks symmetrical. I think this symmetry is actually very, big for them. So that's good to see. It's great to see that they are seeing buyers defending. But I just want to mention that in order for this to continue, we have to see if they continue to step in. And then if we were to draw this out like this, if I take another arrow, I'm going to change the color just in 1 second, and you draw it out like this right here was a move to the downside, and this was what happened beforehand. So if you draw this out and make this yellow, you guys will see the same thing happened here. Is this about to be symmetrical? Are we about to come down the way that did and then see, a move like this? After deliveries comes out, it's possible NIO does see a big move to the upside if we end up getting really, really nice numbers. So I hope that ends up being the case, and we'll have to see what happens from there. So that's what I'm essentially hoping for. Let me just fix this. Sorry about that, guys. I think I misclicked by mistake. But I'm just trying to say that it looks very symmetrical, and I'm hoping that we see this pan out with a nice double bottom. If we get a nice bottom structure that forms right here, after deliveries comes out, this aligns very nicely with the potential breakout that could be coming. We have to have this gap over here, which makes you suspect that there could be a big bounce coming. So I see potential in this chart. I think that's looking quite good, and there's a good chance this might actually play out. So I do lean a bit more bullish, hoping that they give us some good deliveries numbers, but we'll see just to be safe. For other factors out there, we have SPY. Okay, SPY is looking, in my opinion, a little bit weaker after all. I was hoping that this would try to push a little higher, but instead we got this huge rejection. So now it's resembling a left shoulder, a head, and a right shoulder. There will be a rebound attempt on Monday, but if we can't break past 598, we could just make a lower high and start dumping back down to 592. For Nvda, it's the same thing. We're making lower highs. This could rebound for 138 and reject and start dipping back down to 134 all over again. There's a very good chance that could end up being the case. Bitcoin, it's on a bit of a downtrend. We could be dipping lower. We could be looking for 95,000 and a rejection back down towards the 93,000s. ES is on a bit of a downtrend. We could rebound for 60.50, then start rejecting back down for about the 5900s. So it's not looking that great. For Tesla, we got this rejection. We have a double top-like structure. We're looking for 432 as our main support here. If this fails us, we could be dumping back down to about 418 or so. Also, it's not looking that great. It might rebound a bit and start tipping lower. It might be a small dip approaching deliveries, and deliveries will cause a big move depending on how they end up going. NQ could be pushing right up here towards 21,800, but if we make a lower high, we're making lower highs right here, so it could make a lower high and reject. That's also a very strong possibility. Same thing with the QQQ. We could be making lower highs just like this, so if it hits this high, it could reject and start coming back down. Aapl has the same thing going on. Might attempts to retest 255, then reject, but it could be coming back down to about 252 at least after that. For the IW Morosa 2000, we are making lower highs as well. Could retest 223 to 224, then come back down to 222. For coin is making lower highs. This could be dipping lower towards this imbalance, so it could pop a bit and start dipping for essentially 257. Amazon is looking weaker. We have like a head and shoulders like structure. We could be hitting 224, then reject and start dipping back down for 221. So be careful. Meta also could be dipping. We have some gaps to fill below, which makes me a little bit more concerned. Microsoft might also retest 433, then start dipping back down to 425. And then Google could be doing the same thing off a head and shoulders, leading to some more downside, taking us back down to about 192, then eventually 188. So my view of the market is there's going to be a rebound attempt, but then the move might fail as we're seeing lots of head and shoulders, lots of distributive patterns, and the downside risks are still there. For NIO, this could drag NIO a little bit lower. So on Monday, don't be surprised if we see a pop and drop right back down to like the lower 4.4s, especially as we have these gaps to fill. But then, like I showed you before, this looks like a very symmetrical structure, and hopefully deliveries come out good. That could help the share price start pushing up to fill this gap. So I hope that ends up being the case. But with that being said, I want to thank you all so much for listening. Please have a good rest of your day. I'll see you guys very soon in my next video. Thank you and peace out.